skyrocketing. We can feel it in our bones. In this season 4 opener, we're going to talk about how to prepare yourselves for these high frequencies, what you need to do for 2023, and how to find your spiritual truth in all of this. Welcome to Divine Soul Awakening. We are a group of spiritual teachers and healers coming together to help raise the global consciousness of their true selves. And on this team today, we have, from left to right, we've got Khan Knight, Jenny Hart, Mike Borg, and Rachel Sorney. So what we're going to do today is to go around the table, and I'll take the chairperson's prerogative of going last, and ask what each members of the team have learned, perhaps from last year in particular, very short learning, but then focus on what they think or what they feel is going to happen in this year, and what spiritual insights they have into this particular process. So, in reverse order, over to Rachel.
Okay, I get to start. Okay, what's the first part we want to talk about? Where do we want to start with this?
It's the key learning point from last year.
Okay.
And then more importantly, what is it you feel is very important to share about this coming year?
All right, so starting with last year, for me, my personal key learning experience was really about finding balance and coming into a higher state of alignment with my higher self. And so there was some triggering events that happened last year that really sort of expanded my awareness of just my own self and my own healing capabilities, just things I needed to work on. But really what was exposed to me was areas in my life that were out of alignment, that were out of balance. So I learned how to manage my energy better. I learned how to recognize when I was giving too much in one direction and not giving back enough to myself. My guides had me really look at very closely at like all these different areas in my life, and I had to take a step back and really pause almost on everything that I was doing, because I was shedding a lot of layers. I was shedding a lot of like old identities and old paradigms and old beliefs, and I was integrating a lot of new aspects of myself, I guess, multidimensional aspects, and understanding just my own connection with my higher self. And so it was a powerful year for me. I talked a lot about some of these changes more detail in some of the other episodes of our last season, but it was just going through a spiritual awakening for me. It was just really eye-opening. A lot of the focus too for me was on the balance with the inner divine masculine, inner divine feminine energy, what that feels like. And yeah, it was expansive. It was positive. I took a break for a while on my channel and took some time off, but it was very helpful, and I feel much more empowered and aligned and just ready to go. I'm really excited for this year, actually. So I'm happy to be back on the show and with all of you, and I'm excited for just a lot of the new stuff that we're all working on individually and collectively. So, and welcome everybody. Hello in the comments. Hi, Marie. As far as, do you want me to get into what I see happening next year, or okay, start with that. So I have been channeling a lot of guidance recently from the dragons. I was connecting with them a lot last year, and they were already showing me last year that this year was going to be very powerful for their energy coming in. The year is the number 7. 2023 adds up to 7. And that's really about connecting with your own intuition, your own inner wisdom, kind of becoming the seer. And it's all about spiritual transformation and spiritual expansion on many different levels. So the dragons coming in this year in a big way is a signal that we're ready to start integrating our multidimensional aspects of ourselves. So really recognizing how we're connected to these other dimensions, these other higher dimensional beings, I guess you could say, like how our source stream of consciousness is connected to everything that is not easily seen. Like we don't see it with our eyes, but it's there, it's around us. So connecting to our intuition, I think, is big this year. Coming into alignment with your higher self, that's always a big one. Yeah, just a lot of stuff. I think that I can get into more as we start to flow into the conversation, but for me, there's positive changes coming. What I channeled a message from them about 2023 from the dragons, they basically showed me that we are moving into like an upward spiral, a positive trajectory as light workers. Collectively, it's like we've done the work, we've done a lot of the healing work, the integration work, and now we're ready to really shine our light forward and help others, kind of not help others, but just step into our power and really start to activate our spiritual gifts, what we came here to share individually as our own unique expressions of source, but also combining our energy with those who are like-minded in a collective way. So we all bring a very unique piece of the puzzle to the picture, to the greater picture, and to the greater whole. So it's really about unifying, connecting all of our resources, coming together in these groups like this, and also in some of the groups that some of us have created, and really bringing people together for the purpose of helping people recognize how to hear their own intuition, I think, is part of it, because I think that we shouldn't be looking outside so much for answers, but really looking within for answers. So I think this year is really, that's a huge theme, is learning to trust your own inner guidance system, learning how to connect to your own source of intelligence, universal wisdom, to get the answers you seek, what your soul is wanting to know. You can find that within, you can go within. And so for me, a big goal of mine is to really work with people to help them develop their own intuition, their own mediumship capabilities, instead of focusing so much on giving readings to people and doing the private readings and the one-on-one. I really want to help people hear their own guides talking and know that they have that direct connection. They don't need somebody else to tell them, you know, what star system they're from or whatever. I mean, they can pick that up themselves. So that's one of my personal goals for this year, is to be more active in helping others develop their own intuition.
Great, thank you very much. So I'd like to pass the baton on to Mike. So on my screen, Mike, you're the next one along. So Mike, if you could just tell us what perhaps the signal learning point you've had from last year, and in your own sort of awareness of 2023 and the energies, what is it you'd like to share with the audience in terms of the most important thing, or maybe a few things that you feel are coming up that is important for them to know? Over to you.
All right. Well, my experience in 2022 was very similar to Rachel's. Actually, I could almost just use everything that she said as to sort of what I was going through. For me, it was a big year of learning how to come back to me. I had spent far too long focused on trying to take care of everything for everybody else, and I kind of lost track of who I was, what were my wants, what are my needs, and what do I need to be able to stay as a sovereign being and to also stay within those higher vibrations. So the last 6 months has been a great time for myself to learn how to quiet the monkey mind and come back to self, and learn how to listen to my heart and to understand that, you know what, my wants and my needs are important. I don't necessarily need all of that, but those things that really do feed and fuel me are very important, and I shouldn't neglect myself and some of those wants and needs. Again, as long as they aren't from a selfish place, because I've definitely struggled with selfishness in the past. So I really see 2023 for myself, and really for the collective, is learning to how can we stand and stay in our power, but also be of service to other people? And much like Rachel, I see 2023 for me, and especially with my clientele, is really about teaching them how to reconnect with themselves, how to listen to that intelligence within themselves, and to understand that, yes, having treatments and having sessions with me is wonderful because I can help accelerate their experience, but also teaching them and empowering them that they have all that capability and all that power within themselves to truly begin to understand those subtle signals that their body and their experiences are trying to tell them, and encouraging them and again empowering them to listen to that and to make those changes on their own, because our body has such an amazing internal wisdom that we've just forgotten how to communicate, how to listen, and how to be directed by what our body needs. This monkey mind, gets in the way a little too much. And if we just learn how to turn that direction inwards, connect to the heart, connect to that higher sense or high vibration of love, we can unlock so much hidden potential within us all.
Thank you. And what about for 2023? Anything in particular?
That's really...
That was it.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. Didn't mean to drop you with it. Okay, so moving on, over to Jenny.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm sitting here listening to everybody else, and I could say I could piggyback, but I think the biggest thing for me and 2022 was learning to open more of my clairs so that I could be a better channel to not only work with clients, but to be able to recognize the messages that I was getting, that they were for real, and to be able to share them in a comfortable way, because I still have those moments of, do I say anything or not? You know what I mean? Because to me, some of the stuff I hear and comes through sounds a little bit silly or crazy, and I think it may not connect with somebody. But last year definitely taught me to just put it right out there, because every time I did, these people were getting what they needed to hear, and just to, last year definitely was just about opening up more and learning to listen. I get that when the monkey brain is running wild, I'm not always the best listener, because I'm trying to figure something out instead of listening to what they're actually telling me. So I hope to do more of that in 2023. But in this upcoming year, the message that keeps coming down to me from not only my guides, but through other people, is that we need to really tap into our creativity in the next coming year. That being connected to that creative part of you brings you back into not childish, but childlike state, where we can be in the present and in that isness of just simplicity. And I know when I'm in that 0 point, in that childlike feeling, it just makes things coming in easier. And as light workers and healers, I feel that's, I say to myself, what does doing crafting or coloring or painting or anything have to do with doing light work? But it definitely does connect for me. It definitely connects for me, and I know it does with a lot of other people. And I often hear clients, and when I do fairs and stuff, and people say, well, I'm not creative, it just hasn't been open. It's another channel for these people, so that's what I'm hearing coming in. And the fact of stop sitting on the fence, and either you're gonna or you're not, to move ahead, and so that's where I'm at personally, and what I'm hearing for the collective for the coming year.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Over to Khan now for your... Sorry, Mike, do you want to bring up?
Can I make a comment before we go on to Khan?
Yeah.
So, Jenny, your point to people saying that they they feel they aren't creative in any way. That was me for a very long time, because I don't draw, I don't sing, I don't dance. My artistic expression, I just didn't have one until I realized that for me, the way I express myself artistically and creatively was actually through my work and helping people. And because doing this type of work, this energy work, is very much a dance. It's an art. There's a flow to it. And as soon as I learned to accept that that was how I expressed myself creatively, everything shifted for me. It was like a huge weight was lifted off for me and allowed me to really step into that flow a lot more.
Yeah, creativity comes from many different places, Mike. I totally agree. It's not just about art, for sure.
Yeah, so for any of you who feel like, hey, you're not artistic, you don't sing, you don't dance, there are other ways that you can express your creativity. And you just have to sort of allow yourself that moment to experiment, play around with different things. And like Jenny said, creativity is actually a very big part of our spiritual journey. We are divine beings of creation, and we are the creator ourselves. So when we actually exercise those creativity muscles within us, we can create the ideal circumstance, life, and situations for us.
That's right.
Yeah, so true. So true.
Thank you. Over to you, Carl.
And that definitely leads into my past and future. Last year was all about preparation. As much as I thought I was expanding, I was really just creating room. I was tearing down the personality of who I thought I was. In the process, that it opened up my awareness, expanded my consciousness. I was able to reach into very different realms. And now that we're entering into this year, and what we all need to do is last year and the time before, the last couple of years has all been about preparing your bodies to make a choice. And I feel now that line has been drawn in the sand, that we need to make that decision. So we've been preparing, and you had a choice that you can align yourself to love, or you can align yourself to fear. And now that choice has been made. It's you got to act on it. You got to do it. You have all the tools, the information, join the groups, you've got the circles around you. It's now time to do, because the energy is so high. We're entering into a stage of creation. In that stage of creation comes a collaboration of our collective groups, that when we create as a collective, as one, we can make miraculous things. And that's where part of our creativity. It is, we know right now that the five of us, when we get on screen like this, we just had our winter break. And when we got back together just to have our pre-meeting last week, we just got high on love, just being each other's energies. So I'm finding doing things in co-creation is where we move into, because we're all creative, loving beings. Align yourself with those people. The people that say that you can't do something, that say that, no, you're not good enough, you can't do this, you're out of my circle anymore. I'm just not being, you're in not my space anymore. The people I'm aligning myself with are loving, heart-centered beings that encourage me, that I say, I'm healing this body of MS and degenerative disc disease. And they see me hobbling about on my walker, and I'm not moving, and they see this body getting worse. But in my mind, I'm saying, no, I'm healing. I am healed. This body is healing. And you can tell that in my energetic expression, my voice, but in the physical expression, it's not there. But as long as you hold your alignment in that energy, it is going to happen. So you need to be surrounded by these people in order to nourish that creativity, nourish that energy. And that's what it's all about. We are entering the stage of creation. And it is, you got to be with your soul family. Forget like my immediate family, they're not me. I'm the black sheep. We all are. In one way, we are not our immediate family. And we knew that growing up. And there's a reason for that in order to make us sensitive. And now we're entering this stage that I'm surrounded by my soul family. These are the people that come attracted to me. And as I'm aligned into that energy, more and more of these people are coming into my field. And that's what we need to do. It's getting away from from culture, expectations, and say, no, I'm following my truth, and this is who I am. And as long as I stay in resonance, those are the people that's going to come to me, and those are the manifestations that are going to be created with me. And that is 5D manifestation right there. Aligning yourself into your truth. That's it right there. Yeah. And how about you, Doc? What happened with your last year? You muted, but what happened with your? I think his furry friends are joining the conversation, so he's muted himself.
Yes. Well, I think the biggest thing for me last year was actually, there were two things. I mean, but probably the most important thing was to become more and more aware of how people who I previously would never have thought were awakening are becoming awoken, whatever the word is anyway. So people who I normally would never have thought of in a million years as having a understanding, shall we say, of events and their self and others are more and more as I said, more aware of what's going on, and the really interesting thing is more able to talk about it. So it's been really quite remarkable to see that happening. On a personal note, the one thing that didn't go so well was that I recognized somebody not being able to use their discernment, and so it's something which, personally, whenever I say anything, I've got to keep emphasizing personally more and more when I do readings, just to make sure people are aware of how they feel when they listen to what anybody says, but and not take everything literally as gospel, because that's a big personal learning point for me. In terms of 2023, I think we all agree there's a sense of adventure, of newness, of opportunity, of excitement in the air, and I felt it more and more this year. And despite all of the alleged doom and gloom around, it's a huge feeling of, my goodness, there's such opportunity. It's going to be such a great year. And I felt very excited at the turn of the year, and I still do now. But the one thing that keeps coming back to me again and again and again is emphasizing to people to find community-based solutions to problems and not just think it's on your own. So it's perhaps a way of spreading awareness that despite all of us wanting to be able to do things on our own, sometimes there's a need, not sometimes, there's or more often a need at a community level in your locality to reach out to people. And so maintaining those connections, for want of a better word, with kindred spirits in our near local neighborhood, rather than just across the internet and lives and so on, is going to be more and more important, especially when things get, should we say, instead of saying more interesting, but there are greater opportunities to learn, if you can read between the lines, okay? And that I see more and more and more, that these things which could be easily portrayed as not necessarily the best things to have to experience are actually learning opportunities to flip. And if we can shift our thinking, leave alone more people around us, into saying, well, here's an opportunity to think it differently, then it'll help facilitate those people who come within our orb, our arena as such. This is just what I've seen and felt lately. I'm sure things are going to develop as time goes by, but it's the things that have been foremost in my mind.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know whether others in the audience have how they felt about the start of the new year. If you could just put down one key word for those of you who are typing in little messages on the side, just to see if we can pick up on some of the sensitivities that are out there, or the vibes that are out there as such. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, Doc, you were pretty bang on there, Doc, with the idea of community needing to happen. And I've noticed that in my area here, there's more and more groups of people wanting to gather and to come together in like-mindedness and to help support each other. It's not about what do I gain out of this. It's how can I be of service to help you achieve your goals and to prosper in this time, right? So if you don't have that community, well, it's not that hard to start it. You just have to kind of reach out, put it out there, talk to some people that you know that might be on board or in alignment with that. Sometimes that group starts with 2 or 3 people and grows from there. I know for myself, especially in this area, there's a real demand for men's groups. And so I'm working very closely with a good friend of mine to get that established in this area, because there's a lot of very hurt men in this region that need that support and to be heard. So again, we are choosing to create that community because it's not here, and it's not difficult.
Thanks, Mike. Over to you, Rachel.
Yeah, and I just wanted to, just mention that, just so much good information was shared already. And if you guys in the comments are resonating, or if you're watching the replay and you're resonating with some of what we're sharing here today, please do take a minute to like the video and even subscribe if you haven't already to our channels, because we're really here to reach as many people as we can with positive messages, and just the work that we're doing, it really helps us to connect to a broader audience and help build these communities like we're talking about right now, collectively find those like-minded people that resonate with these changes that we are hoping to make in this new year. And yeah, I'm curious what you guys also would like to see happen in the new year too. So what are some of your goals for the new year? If you guys want to share some of that, I would love to hear what you guys are working on, or what you see for yourselves, what some of your visions are for the new year.
Well, I know myself, yesterday was day one of an ascension transition program that I just started. And that was what I was guided to bring us together in a collective and do particular meditations, guided meditations that I channel in through spirit that open up our awareness. So it's over 6 weeks, 3 times a week for 30 minutes. And as we connect in a group, that we work on expanding our consciousness. And what that does is make us more sensitive. So you had to think that, 3,000 years ago, right here in Canada in wintertime, just trying to find food was next to impossible. Just trying to find any berries or fruit, just trying to be vegan is not going to happen. So if you found an animal crossing back through your path, you were appreciative of that. So when you hunted that animal, it was energetic for you. It was thankful. It was appreciated. And that's what we've moved away from, that not being connected to our environment. So back then you had to be aware. You slept outside, you were being hunted or by animals. Before you moved into communities and safe spaces, you couldn't really have a proper sleep. So you're always aware. And this is what we've moved out of, is losing our awareness and our sensitivity. And this is kind of what's happened to us during the pandemic, that it made us become much more sensitive and on high alert. It's like, oh my God, my world that was really safe and perfect, it's suddenly been attacked, and I got to be on high alert now. So that kind of sparked up our awareness. And that goes back into the whole tree of life thing. As you raise up, you need to allow those leaves to fall off, crumble, disintegrate, and let it nurture the roots just so you can grow back again. And that is the epitome of the tree of life, and that is the epitome of our soul. So getting into a practice as a group in expanding our awareness, and then on Thursdays we release those emotions, and on Saturdays we go into co-creation. And it is all of us collectively focusing on love, freedom, joy, happiness, abundance. And when you do that as a collective, as one, it is scientifically proven that you are affecting change globally when you do these things. And that's what we've all done. As many of us who has woken up, we have, from the pandemic, we have collected and come together on these online platforms, and we're just drawn to each other. And we just, I see so many people on, not only the page, all but Mike, I have met personally. Everyone else, I've met all of you online over the last 2 years, and we are so connected. And that includes all the people that are popping in through the comments that connect up through us by watching our videos. We automatically feel a soul connection, because we know that we can cut through the BS. We know when someone is just placating us, just giving us lip service, or just trying to be nice because of ritual. That heightened awareness you see right through people. And this is where, in this world, we have to operate from our hearts, from the truth. And by operating in the truth, you can go no wrong, because your life is steered in the right direction. The people that you align with and connect with is in the right direction. So creating this program for me is as I've been guided, that we increase and purposely work on expanding that awareness, releasing what doesn't serve us, and get into co-creation. And that's what I've been doing, and just to strengthen the connections that we have together. Because I can honestly say, like, I love you guys, and I really connect with so many of you, not only on screen, but in the comments. And we are family. And you know that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marjorie's saying that 2023 for me is all about my joy and peace, and the feeling for me is my energetic expression will bring in the right people.
Beautiful. And by the way, Marjorie, congratulations on your little whale.
Oh, she had her baby.
I think so. I saw pictures of a new little one in there. So
Okay. Awesome.
Wow, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Michelle's saying this all totally resonates with me. I'm receiving clearer messages from my spirit, and my discernments are much more noticeable to me now.
yeah,
Beautiful,
and Michelle, she's a great example. Where she started maybe a year or two ago, when she first started, when I first met her, she was figuring this stuff out. But because she was in the community, and not even by doing much, but just kind of stayed within the community, her energy lifted. And look at it, that's a really positive, energetic message.
Well, when we are when we are connected to community too, right? If there are other people in that community who are processing and going through some of the struggles that you may be facing with, as they begin to clear and shift their awareness and their connection to those perceived struggles or limitations, it has that effect to actually clear out in you as well. So I know every time I do work with people and they have profound breakthroughs, it also has a shift within me, but also the collective people in the area here also feel that shift, and things change. So understand that when you are going through what you perceive to be a traumatic or a painful or an uncomfortable shift in your awareness, that you are actually shifting it for the entire collective at the same time.
Yeah, that's interesting, because that was shown to me as I was going through this, what I would definitely call, for me anyways, traumatic shifts and changes. It definitely triggered a lot of like old childhood traumatic type of feelings to be shed and healed. But it also, at the same time, because I'm so connected to my guides, because I'm so connected in that way, it was always shown to me, just this is for the higher healing of all. Like, it's just a beautiful thing that you're doing, that you're offering this service. And so I was able to stay in that higher resonance, even though I was experiencing and processing these difficult emotions. I still felt the love around me. I felt the support, the protection. And so I wanted, just even going off of that, I was wanting to say, like, a lot of you in this group and in the comments, I went through this difficult experience, and I had to lean on some of you guys personally. Like, I had to be messaging you, like, can we talk? Can we meet? I have, I need support. I need guidance from somebody else, not myself, just to help me through that. So that is really important too, that we have this community here, that we all support each other. It's not just me sitting here going, oh, I have all the answers, look at me, and here's the guidance. It's like, no, now I have to integrate the guidance. I need help, and I need support. And so thank you all that were there for me last year and for that. But yeah, it's very healing for all of us, I think, to know that we're here for each other in that way.
Yeah, that's a big point to remember. When it feels tough and painful for us, it's just rippling out. It's that ripple effect. And that definitely makes a difference when when life on life's terms comes in hard, for sure.
Yeah. And when you're fearless to share that hurt that's within you, even just to express it with somebody else, I mean, that is fearlessness. And that is not weakness. That is just sheer fearlessness. And when you share those stories, and I know when I've shared my stories and others have shared their stories, like just like Mike said and Rachel said, like it's healing. It heals a collective. It ripples out. And you just feel like, wow, I was too afraid to share that. I was too afraid, but that is so in line with my story that I feel better. And thank you for saying that and bringing that up. That's such a sensitive topic. And then to hear the group start talking about it and showing the different angles of it, it's like, oh, I didn't think about that. Like it's healing. It's definitely healing.
Yeah.
And how could you not be appreciative of your soul family when you're healing each other?
Yeah.
Like you've just healed me from a lifelong trauma that's been there for like decades, and it's gone within like 15 minutes. Like, how could I not love you anymore? Right.
Well, what I've noticed too with my clients is as I hold these higher vibrations of love and acceptance and peace, lately, I'll say like within the last 2 months for sure, a lot of my clients will come in and then just spontaneously have emotional reactions.
Yeah.
And I hear this almost every day. I've never told this to anyone. I've never allowed myself to be like this in front of people. And I had to explain to them, well, it's my energy brings that out in you because I am holding those vibrations of love and acceptance, and this is that safe space to allow you that opportunity to heal, to process, to let go, and to feel the feels. So many people don't allow themselves to actually feel what's going on and feel that emotion. So being in a space where there is that higher vibration, there is that love, and there is that non-judgment support here for them, it's amazing how it just kind of comes to the surface and comes out in many different ways.
It's something where if sometimes you have the time to look back over your life and you can think of particularly difficult, troublesome times where you were dropped in the deep end, or you're flailing around not knowing what to do, and somehow you found your way through. But actually, with the benefit of what we in medicine call the retrospectoscope, are you looking back over your shoulder, you realize this was one of the most amazing learning experiences, and you come out far stronger. But whilst you're in the middle of that little turmoil, the drama, or whatever you want to call it, it seems like the sky is falling on your head. But actually, in reality, it's just a wonderful gift and an opportunity to flip it and say, well, what am I learning from this? How can I take this forward? And then bit by bit by bit, it helps you, I guess the word is alchemize it from being a difficult, traumatic time into a wonderful learning experience, which you can actually learn from others as well as from yourself in terms of how you perceive this. It's this traditional, glass half full, glass half empty scenario, which we all have been through. But at that time, it's like a very difficult moment in your lives. And so perhaps that's something we can all learn from. And maybe when we come across other people having a hard time, we can actually give that back to them, and if they're receptive, obviously, as something that maybe they can understand and pick up from.
So that kind of tunes into some of the messages that I was picking up on from the dragons in my video. They were showing me that. So a lot of us have done the healing work for ourselves, and now we're stepping into the role of helping to heal others. So that was what is coming into the forefront this year, where we are actually going to be here to activate that healing in others, or help. We're bearing the fruit, in other words, of all the hard work that we've done, and now our lights are strong enough to actually help others hold that container, like Mike was saying, for others to learn how to be their own healers in that sense. But it's a beautiful thing. It just keeps, it's like passing the torch, helping others, it's really service to the all is because we're all connected and one.
And that's exactly what 5D is. Sorry, Doc.
I mean, it's partly also a reflection, an aspect, a historical resonance where we've been, to a certain extent, programmed to see failure or difficulty as a problem. And it's a very common mindset because it links in with all sorts of stuff, which we could go off on and explain. But actually, the first time I came across this as a way of thinking was in Japanese car manufacturing. One of the approaches is to examine every mistake because it's a gem, it's a jewel that you can learn from. And at the time, they think, oh my goodness, we're going to scrap the entire car manufacturing line. But actually, the bit that went wrong is the bit that you can learn from. And equally so, in our own journey, we come across these things where we think of not passing an exam as a failure. But actually, it's perhaps the universe's way of saying, actually, there's something else you could get from this. But I guess, like with what I think Karen mentioned in the comments, we shouldn't be hard on ourselves, because it's so easy to view that in the eyes that we've programmed to look at difficulties or failures as a problem. But actually, it's not. It's a learning experience. And the more and more we perhaps not only embed that into ourselves, we make our journey easier, but also perhaps that can ripple out to other people who can see us going through these moments, and we can help other people going through these moments to say, actually, it's going to be fine. It's not the end of the world. It's just a problem. It's just a learning opportunity. And then let's see how we can address it.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that came out of the channeling sessions last week. That this lifetime, consider it like one classroom session. That you've come to learn a subject. You go to school all year long and you learn a subject. You learn something. But really, only one classroom is one of these lifetimes that we learn a certain aspect of it. You gain a little bit of knowledge, you go back home and you eat lunch, you sleep, you rest, you ingest it. And then you go back to school again the next day. And that's just another lifetime that you go back and you learn something new. So that this really comes down to being kinder to ourselves, that we learn in incremental pieces and we fail, but it's not failure. That is experimenting and trying again. It's just playing, or that's just playing. It's more playing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and another thing to keep in mind is that we're all at different grade levels, in different schools, in different universities, taking different courses. Mm-hmm. So we don't really know what course I don't necessarily have to know what course you're taking. Just know that we're all on our own unique paths, and there's no right or wrong, because all roads lead to home. All roads lead to that. And we don't know what we came here to experience. Maybe we wanted, the soul, the higher self has no judgment on a bad experience or a good experience. The higher self doesn't care. It wants experience. It wants to know itself. It can know itself through contrast. It can know itself in many ways. It needs contrast though. So that's why there's no harsh judgments coming from your higher self or your spirit guides or anybody. They're just there to hold your hand, help light your path and, show you love, basically. Yeah.
Which I think your comment on your mention of the word judgment is really, really important, because I don't know about you, but I've seen so many people, myself included, who, when they go into judgment mode, they see a net result which is the other, or something that's different or lesser. And so personally, I'm having to, remind myself not to say the words, oh, that's bad, or that's good, but that's different. And we use it with high vibration, low vibration, but it's different. And likewise, I remember, excuse me, I'm going to cough here. with our children, with the very first one, we would see a failed exam as a disaster. But with the last one, we'd shifted our thinking to saying, well, what did you learn from it? And that thinking was, I think we got far more traction with that line of attack than going into judgment mode on our children, who, for a whole bunch of reasons, we bring up in the way that we thought we were brought up, and we just carry on repeating what we were taught. And having that lack of judgment, not just with our nearest and dearest, but with everything around. It doesn't mean we can't hold an opinion, but it means that we don't sort of label it in a particular way that brings down the discussion, the thoughts, and thereby the solutions to these things. And the same thing applies to ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's a big part of it, the judgment piece. Right? It's how, and it's not even just how we're talking to our kids, it's also, and that is that learned behavior that we're teaching our kids on how to react when something happens. And it even is something positive. If somebody gets brand new shoes or a new dress and say, oh, like, what do you think of my new dress? Or what do you like of my shoes? Like, you know, it's not even focusing on the newness that you have an object. It's like, oh, what do you like about it? What makes you happy about it? And it's not necessarily about the object. So training our kids on how to deal with this is really going to help us understand and elevate ourselves at a higher position. It's not about the stuff. It's not about the 3D things. It's about the feeling, and shifting all the conversations back into the feeling aspect is how we moved through 2023, I believe.
But equally, if I think I'm going to say something quite outrageous, and I hope everyone resonates with this, but if we believe there's going to be a lot of changes this year, it's very easy to see it through the lens of a particular mindset where, oh, it's a terrible thing, they are doing this to us. It's the news anchor or the news reporting method of describing what's going on. And it's very, very easy for individuals and communities to start to see this as a, isn't it terrible they're doing this to us sort of way of thinking. But to flip it, and the opportunity that we have within our own work and our own groups, is to see if we can get the mindset to change so that people can see these as opportunities rather than threats or anything to be fearful about.
Yeah, and that becomes the choice then, right? It's your choice on how you want to look at something. And this is where I feel that we've learned a lot of the training now. Now is to make a choice that we can look at an event as something positive or higher vibration or lower vibration. Because it's all on the spectrum of love. It's whether you're on the lower spectrum of love or the higher spectrum of love. So if we look at the pandemic, either someone's going to look at it and say, man, that was horrible. It was horrible. But then there's all of us that look at it, it's like, it was so wonderful because it made us more aware and woke us up and like, thank God that happened because that was beautiful. So it really is a choice that you decide on what you want to look at and focus your energy on.
We have a great question here, if somebody would like to answer this, where Kay says, my daughter's teacher this new school year is a racist. I've tried dealing with her non-judgment. However, she isn't changing, and this is just 4th grade. How do I handle this?
I would continue to raise above that, give her love, and show her, because typically people have if you think about racism, there's some sort of fear within them or an expectation of how they perceive that other group or race. But when you start looking at not as the written rule or the assumption that's been put out there, but you start looking at the individual people, because it comes down to individual people. It's not about race at all. It comes down to individual people. And some people are extremely loving. There's a lot of pasty white guys out there that are really mean and hurtful. But then there's me, and I'm a pretty loving guy. So you can't really judge me and all the other pasty white guys out there. So it really comes down to working with the individuals. So I would say continue to give love to them and just show them, do nice things. Now, you don't go out of your way, but follow your heart and just continue to be the loving self you're. You don't really have to fight them on anything. They need nurturing because they don't know any better. And they're most likely, when you look at that person, what happened to them that made them this way, that they had either a parent or an experience that happened to the family. So now the entire family said, well, now we just label the entire race of this. So there's some sort of event, experience, something happened to them as their young person. They just don't know any better. And when we look at them at a child's eye, that they are a child and they just don't know any better, it's like all you can do is continue to give love to someone that doesn't know any better, even if they are harmful. Even when a child squashes an ant or uses a magnifying glass and burns them, or steps on a grasshopper, we need to teach them love, and it goes through our actions. So I would say my personal belief would be to continue to give love and change their energetic expression of just who you are, of what your community is. That would be my thinking.
To me, this is also a great opportunity for you to teach your child about this, and show your child, use this opportunity of a racist teacher to teach your child to be better in society, to not condemn the person for who they are and their beliefs. Because as Con said, we don't know their story. We don't know their traumas. We don't know what they've been through that have created this circumstance. So as Con was saying, that is really just what compassion is. When you can see beyond their hate or their anger or whatever it is, and see that loving seed that is within them, it doesn't matter what they say or how they act, it shouldn't be able to affect you. So hold that place of love, hold that place of understanding, and have these real open conversations with your child as to why this is good or why their behaviors are not good.
And let's face it, kids are not racist. They are not. These little kids, they're just pure love, and they do not see anything like that. Even just the word racism is created outside of that association that is taught. These are pure love, and they don't operate on that level.
Well,
Jenny?
when people are stuck in that 3D sort of expression of life, they choose one side or the other of the paradox. So this teacher is actually holding a very important energetic vibration for the collective. Yes, we may not align with it and we may not agree with it, but they are holding that very specific energy so we can begin to learn and understand the opposite of that, which is love and acceptance. And we teeter-totter from side to side as we go through this process. And eventually we find that peace, that stability, and that balance between the two paradigms.
Jenny, you're going to say something?
Yeah, what was coming to mind for me was, and she says here that she doesn't interact with her, our vibration that we hold sometimes maybe in the frustration that she might be feeling in the situation and not even knowing it, subconsciously is holding a lower vibration that's not feeding out, and we don't have to be in direct contact with somebody to have our higher vibration or that love that we want to put out there. And even sometimes it's hard to say, okay, how do I send this love vibration out to this person that I'm frustrated with? Well, first we bring in the fact that we may not know their background, like we've been talking about. But as light workers and as people who are holding space for others, it's not always easy to hold space for people that can be difficult or in difficult situations. But if we continue to hold that love vibration, it will it's that ripple out effect again. And you may never see it in this person, but sometimes it will show up, and you could be very surprised if you're able to do that. I learned at one time somebody said to me, if you're really upset with somebody, pray for that person for 2 weeks. And basically it helps you in your acceptance of a person in a love situation, and situations change that way. So that's what was That's what I was hearing on this. Doesn't have to be direct interaction with somebody.
I would. I wouldn't want to tell you what to do, but I can just share with you something from my own childhood, where sometimes when there are times of adversity which seem almost insurmountable, to flip it, to use it as an opportunity to learn about resilience, to learn about what's really important, and then to focus that energy, that anger, that whatever hurt you might feel at that time. And I certainly did this with a particular teacher who I didn't get on with, and I actually flipped it. So much so, my way of getting back was to put more effort into those lessons and actually get an A in my end of year results. I mean, it's a long story, but it was my worst topic ever with the worst teacher I didn't get on with. And actually, at the end of that year, it completely turned around because I had just put all that frustration into doing that. But I was a teenager then. And I think grade 4 is quite a young age. So how you do this in a younger child is a different thing, and only you would be the best judge of that. I do agree that the power of our intent and the power of the energies that we all hold, not just anybody who's on a different path, is that we can project the emotions and the feelings that we wish to. We have that power and that ability, and I'll be honest with you. It's worked for me personally, where you can project a particular emotion or feeling with an intent, and let the universe sort it out. But it's a little bit difficult when it's your child that's in the middle of all this stuff, and you as a parent naturally feel very protective of that child at that moment in that time.
Yeah.
So maybe not all the answers directly, Kay, but maybe it's something you could perhaps reflect on and use your discernment. Okay. Anyway. Any other questions from the feed? Rachel, you're going to say something?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a reminder for everyone who's watching to like the video. If you're getting something out of this discussion, please show us some love, show us some support, so that we can continue to keep coming on here and having these great discussions that are very healing, very uplifting for us, but not just for us here, for the whole planet, because collectively this energy gets amplified the more we meet as a group. So it's beautiful energy. Thanks everyone for sharing and for the questions and the comments. And there's more happening in the comments, I think. So I'll let Jenny handle that.
So Marjorie says to Duck, same here with the healing is coming from inside. The way we speak to ourselves is a lot in the changing of who I am. Let's see.
And that's definitely what we need to be doing in this upcoming year. It's talking nicer to ourselves. If we were all kinder to ourselves, we would be kind to other people around us, and this world would be a better place. So really shifting your vibrations, and it really starts with being kinder to yourself, non-judgmental. And when you wake up in the morning, you look in the mirror. Don't think about what you got to do in the day. Start by saying, good morning. Hello, body. Hello. Look, you are so beautiful. I love you. And look in your eyes and speak to your body, speak to yourself, speak to your soul. And start your morning off by saying, good morning. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I love you.
Yeah, and this follows right along with what you're saying. My higher self has a lot to tell me lately. Him and my guardian angels are constantly rewording how I talk to myself. There is so much joy and support I get from them and other energies too.
Yeah, and I recommend if you're not into mediumship or channeling per se, if you can get connected with your guides and you can start feeling their presence and the ways they talk to you, it's really, really helpful, especially in those moments where you're feeling low. They'll come in with signs. You don't have to hear voices in your head. You can ask them for signs, feathers, coins, songs on the radio. There's so many ways they want to communicate with us. We have so many different guides, angels, elementals, ascended masters. spirit guides, people that have passed over that love us. They're always trying to get our attention. So it's if you can connect with their energy, they can hold that energy for you. So just getting connected with them, they'll bring in the energy. Hey, Jesus, bring in the love. I'm not feeling it, but I know you love me. So, bring it in. So, and meditation, that's another way to really align with those higher vibrations and clear out any distortions. So with that, I would like to say too, I'm working on creating a Patreon in my Patreon group. I'm working on creating a mediumship practice where we can get together as a group on a private Zoom session meeting and meet together privately on screen like this and practice channeling, bringing in our guides, feeling their energy, sensing their energy. And it's going to be like a mediumship circle type deal that I'm going to start in February on there. So I'm going to there's the link on the screen for that group. And it'll probably be in the descriptions box as well. But do feel free to join us over there. It's a safe, loving, non-judgment, no right or wrong answers. You can't get it wrong. It's just energy and how you perceive it. And when you start to tune to the ways that you perceive energy, you get clearer in your own intuition. You get clearer in hearing your own inner voice when it's guiding you in this direction or that direction. So it's really helpful to expand in that way, not just to connect with guides, but to hear your own higher self speaking to you, and to know when you're getting that intuitive impulse to do something, and to learn to trust that too, because it's all about building that trust in your own higher guidance system. So join me on there, and I'll be posting soon in the group like when the actual date and time for that event will be. But yeah.
And we also have Thursday practices where keep in touch with that on Intuitive Soul Rising, where we come in and practice to connect with guides and open our clairs more. And it really has a lot to do with just keep practicing, because it just kind of comes naturally the more you.
Yeah. And I did want to mention that. So I'm going to say that Jenny here, Jenny, and Jim Fomenko, who's might be in the comments right now, are going to be hosting that on my private Facebook group. That's a free event. And it's twice a month in that group. And this next session is Tuesday, January 24th at 6 p.m. Eastern time. So that's next Tuesday. So, look forward to that too. That's always fun.
Different time.
Yeah, you can practice in the comments. So it's not like you have to come on screen with that one, but it's, but I do feel when we are like this, where we can see each other, the energies are amplified, and I feel like the messages we do receive are more full, in the sense that we're all kind of picking up on our own unique pieces, and then it's just a bigger picture message for everyone that's relevant, usually to everybody who's actually participating in the group. So yeah, it's powerful stuff when we come together.
Love that.
We have another comment here. Michelle saying, I notice when I hear and sing along with what I like, cats love my aura, energy builds up. So I started laying hands and asking for healing. It's working with my older cat. Does dancing cleanse me after I am done?
Can I answer that one?
That's a good one. Yeah.
This is kind of right up my wheelhouse. So if you're feeling drawn to just lay the hands on, that is creating such a shift for yourself and for the cats. And just listen to yourself, listen to your body. If we get up and we move and shake and dance afterwards, it is an amazing way to get that energy, prevent it from being stagnant, and just to get it moving and keep us moving, right? And just to help it clear out and flow out. But it might not be dancing. For some people, it might be go and exercise, go for a run, clean the house, whatever it is that feels right for you and for you in that moment is what you need to listen to, because it might be dancing, but next week it might be something different. So listen to yourself, listen to your heart, trust your intuition, and just go with what feels right for you, because I personally can't tell you exactly what is best for you. You just have to learn to listen again to your heart and to your intuition.
Yeah, and there's so many different ways of doing clearings after you've done Reiki or any healing hands-on on pets or people. You know, you can go out and ground, you can smudge, you can literally make that disconnect in your mind, saying you're done and seeing it done. And, there's the other thing too is to go in and wash your hands in cold water. That's another one I learned too. Will give you that disconnect of not to continue moving that energy that you were moving. But yeah, like Mike was saying, everybody's different in their disconnect after they're done, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed how in the most serendipitous conversations, when you connect with people in different ways, it actually opens you up a lot more. And I mean, the one that springs to mind with me is I happened to be walking along our local high street, and there's a guy with this enormous telescope in the middle of the high street, pointing it up at the conjunction of all these planets. And in another guise, another time, some people might have thought him as being a bit unusual, to say the least. But he was basically just, anybody who's curious would come up and talk to him about what he could see through the telescope. And he pointed at all the planets, he pointed to the moon, whatever he wanted to do. And then he was showing people how to use the telescope. But it was just such a wonderful way of connecting with people. And I overheard this conversation where he was talking about subatomic particles and how in between space, there's all this space that stuff is in, and we just don't see it. But it was just all the way, just expanding and rippling out that enjoyment that he had for talking about something he was passionate about. And despite the fact it was a cold, freezing night in the middle of a high street, which is pretty quiet, but people were still talking and learning more about what he was seeing. And it was just a wonderful way of just connecting out to people in the most sublime way. But he didn't realize what he was doing in a way that he was actually spreading that energy out and spreading that excitement out about what he was seeing. Yeah.
Love that. And that in itself is raising vibrations.
Yeah.
I think that's what all this work is. It's all about raising your vibrations, and whether you call it mediumship, channeling, it really is raising your vibrations, connecting into your intuition, connecting into your heart, and just becoming more loving. And that is just at the base of it. However you do it, it's beautiful.
Exactly. Yeah.
What would be the one thing that each of you? I'm gonna ask Doc, and we'll go clockwise now. What would be the one thing that you would do in 2023 to raise your spiritual awareness, raise your spiritual truth, connecting to that? What would be the one thing?
I have to say, it's expanding. It's striking up conversations with people who I normally wouldn't talk to, sharing experiences and learning from them, and just the most, the oddest, different locations or people you normally wouldn't talk about. Just being brave and just going out there and just saying, how are you doing and what are you doing? Can I learn from, what is it you know? And the question I find always works really well is, what is it you know now that you wish you'd known before? And people really think, really think. And then that's an entree into a conversation about something you've never heard about, like chopping a tree down or building a fire or something, anything. It could be anything, even baking a particular cake. So for me, it's being fearless.
Love that. What about you, Jenny?
Yeah, I mean, that's when I think of what I'd like to be more of is fearless and continue to be authentic and not have that fear of people pleasing. I am who I am. This is what I do. you know, that's not to say I'm going to run across the street, down the street in my little town telling everybody, yeah, I can do magic. You know what I mean? So, but not being afraid to actually, you know, just be who I am, because when that aura comes through, people come to me. It's like a magnet, you know?
Yeah.
So cool.
Love that. And Rachel, what would be like your one truth that you would tell people in 2023 to raise their vibrations and connect into their spiritual truth?
Meditate. For me, it's something we hear a lot, but I haven't had time in my schedule to really, and I've been very frustrated over it for about 2 years now. So for me, it's like I finally cleared the space to make that a key part of my daily ritual process, because my schedule was so chaotic, so busy before. I was literally like, I got to get to that appointment. Rushing. Okay, say my thing, connect. Okay, get in, you know, like that was it for me. And I was doing pretty well for a while with that. So I'm really excited for the messages that are going to come through this year as I actually have the time to really meditate and connect. And I think we're getting to that point where, like you were saying earlier, it's like, no, you really got to meditate. Like, yeah, you know, it's this nice thing to do sometimes, but if you want to get serious, about raising your vibrations, you have to meditate. And I used to not be the person saying those things, but that's what's coming to me in 2023. And I will be doing it with you. So
exactly why I started that 6 week, 3 times a week. You just show up. Meditation starts right at 1:15. It ends in silence, and that's it. You come in, you get out, you're done. And it's forcing people like 3 times a week, come connect, and we work on specific things that's guided by spirit. So
because the energies are very, very strong, and your intuition is so heightened right now. Like you can hear your higher self clearer than you ever could before in the history of Earth. So maybe unless you were living in Atlantis or something, but you know, so really it's like, it's there. They're speaking very loud, very clear. Like I will just think a thought in my head. I'll be like, I want a sign from a very specific guide. And within a minute, I'm getting that sign, literally. And I'm blown away. I'm like, oh my God, whoa, you're really fast. And I didn't even actually have to ask you. I didn't have to like make this intention. I really want this. It was just a thought I was wondering about. Should I, or I don't know, you know what I mean? I'm just thinking about something and I'm tuning to the vibration of that guide. And then it's boom, comes right into my awareness. So that's how fast it's happening for people. So really, if you're not hearing that inner guidance, you need to meditate more. Yeah. There's no other way around it, because that's the best way. And then for manifestation too, if you want the abundance, you have to be of the high frequency. You have to be of the love, of the gratitude, being grateful for what you have, and not looking at the lack, not looking at what's going wrong, or more will go wrong. You have to not focus on what you don't want to create, focus on what you want more of. So that really is about shifting your focus. And if you can't do that, if you're struggling to do that, then meditation is going to help you clear out what's blocking you from being the resistance that you have that's not allowing you to feel that energy and catch that vibration, because it's there. It's always being broadcast. Source vibration is a constant broadcast, and we're always connected to it. So just remember that there's never anything that can block your connection from that. So you're just, something's causing resistance within your system that's not allowing you to access that. And that's what you really want to look at and clear. So
and we are all manifesting. It's just your vibrations of what you're manifesting. It's going to be low vibe or high vibe, because we're always
not a match. If it's not a match, it's not going to come into your reality. So you have to be the match to what you want, to come in.
Exactly. And Mike, what would be your one thing that you would tell people in 2023 to raise our vibrations and connect into their spiritual truth?
To continue to surrender. That's been a big theme for me, is learning how to just surrender, understand that most things that are occurring in my experience of life are out of my control. And the more I try to influence or impact or change those things, the more problems arise. So learning to just surrender, accept, and allow yourself to move through the experience rather than trying to hold on to it. Because the more we try to change it, the more we're actually grasping and holding on to it. And the more struggles and challenges we are faced with through that experience.
Yeah, Mike, you summed up like my lesson from 2022 with that, what you just said. So that was it. That was my guides were like, you got to surrender. You got to try. You got to let go. And I'm like,
It's a big one. And it's a big theme for my
like,
clients
no.
too.
What? Sorry.
I said it's been showing up a lot in my practice as well. And it's a huge theme for my clients right now is surrender, let go. You know, if you're creating this struggle and this challenge because you're holding on to it, when in reality, when you just kind of let it go with love and acceptance, it just dissolves away.
Yeah, the ego is scared of the unknown and change. So the ego is not the higher self. The higher self knows the way. It's like it's over here. I'm telling you. So yeah, but you have to let go of the resistance.
You don't hear those quiet voices when you're not meditating.
Yeah.
When you're meditating, you hear those little quiet things that you miss when the monkey brain's going. So
yeah, exactly.
What about you, Don? What are your...
Go on, Khan, over to you.
I would agree with all of you on that. For me, it really is to connect into yourself, connecting into your heart, becoming more aware of your sensitivity. If you're going to do one action, it is to meditate, and do it in a group if you can, and get into that habit. That is the key. But ultimately, it is coming back into yourself, tuning into your heart, and loving yourself. If you're going to do anything, just love yourself. Doesn't matter what it is, just love yourself. And it's okay. We're all here to make. There's no mistake. Everything is perfect. So allow it to happen. Yeah.
But equally, if apart from the learning for ourselves, if we observe or are in the presence of somebody who's having a difficult time about something, then the opportunity, perhaps, subject to how able or brave even you are, to step in and say, actually, there's another way of looking at this.
mm-hmm.
Would you like me to share with you what happened to me? Rather than telling them what to do, just use your own personal experience, and then people will take it or leave it as they wish. And I've heard somebody say, for example, I'm not telling you what to do, but this is just how I experienced it in the past. If you'd like me to share that with you, let me know and I'll tell you. And it's not an unhelpful way of trying to click in or fit in and ripple out that energy of non-judgment, no fear, very important, no fear, and then just flip it into a positive thing, because we've all been there when it seems like everything is collapsing around you, but actually it's the greatest opportunity for learning. And perhaps if we can use that, to share that, to spread that gives us even more, it enables perhaps more energy of this sort to ripple out that can perhaps sort these problems out.
Yeah, I think it's a great place to end it. And Mike, why don't you take us out, man? That's a good session.
All right. Well, if you enjoyed our talk today and you want to get better insights about what's coming forward in 2023, if you're watching the replay, if you look up here in the top corner, you can click on Rachel's channeling video where she was channeling the dragons, and to hear what they have to say about 2023 and what's coming forward. And if you want to, you can also click on the link down here in the lower corner, and you can listen to Khan on how our world is changing forever and his 2023 predictions. we'd also like to welcome you back to join us in 2 weeks. That will be on February 1st, where our topic will be altered states of consciousness. So this is something I have a little bit of experience with, and would love to share sort of my experiences and some insights on these concepts of altered states of consciousness. And I'm sure everyone here in the group will also have some great input. I'm really looking forward to hosting that topic, and we hope you will all join us in 2 weeks, February the 1st.
Beautiful. See you then, everybody.
Yes, bye,
Much love.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye now.